Welcome everyone. Welcome to another training video for Midwest Model United Nations. This time we're convening to talk about some changes and updates we're making to our plenary sessions at Midwest Model UN 62, which is taking place in February of 2022. Now, before we get started, I want to make it clear that this is part one of announcing the updated structure of these changes. We will have a part two that will be more extensive and more appropriate for really learning the application of these changes for using at conference. For now, we're just going to take some time to go through the overall structural changes and announce those changes. And with me, I have Lance Allen, the Assistant Secretary General of Operations for Midwest Model UN 62. He's going to be going over this announcement, these changes. And of course, my name is Allison. I'm the Assistant Secretary General of Administration. I'm the one who works on social media. And if you have questions about registration or at all, that is where you would talk to the admin team versus the operations team will be your go-to for any questions about rules and rules changes. So without further ado, Lance, why don't you tell us about how we are changing the structure of plenary for our upcoming conference?
Thank you very much, Allison. And yeah, as my fellow assistant secretary said, we're making some changes and that the operations team is super excited about. There are two big announcements to go with that. The first one is that we are decreasing plenary time, the time that you spend in plenary session by a couple hours. And we are increasing the time that you spend in committee session, again, by a couple hours. What this will, and again, we'll discuss this and explain the exact amount of time changes and everything in a more in-depth video, but essentially we're going to take a little bit of time from plenary and add that to committee session. These changes should allow for us to have a bigger focus on diplomacy during our committee sessions. And it should allow us to get to both of our topics in each committee session. Next, in the plenary session, the changes that we're facilitating should allow for us to have a little bit more engagement from the entire delegation during those plenary sessions. Hopefully having everybody on your team working together when you're in the really big rooms. And we wanted to really focus in on why we were making these changes first. We really do think that the plenary session is a unique thing that happens at Midwest Model UN, and we don't want people to feel like we're taking away from that. However, we received feedback from delegations that people were only participating in the plenary session when their committee was or had substantive business on the floor. And we really wanted more folks to be able to be engaged throughout the entirety of the plenary session. At the same time, we received feedback that said that folks were coming to committee session prepared for one topic and only getting the other topic, meaning that all of their pre-conference prep work had really not helped them. And we wanted to make sure that every delegate who put in the time and effort to prepare for a topic at least got the chance to discuss that topic in their committee session. We're hoping that these big changes will help facilitate both of those things. So what comes next? Don't worry, like Allison said, we're going to have a second video that will be a follow-up to this one coming out a week or so after this that will explain our philosophy behind those changes, explaining why we wanted to do this a little bit more in depth. We'll talk specifically about the rules that we're going to change in order to help facilitate the changes in the philosophy and the changes in focus during these two different types of sessions. And finally, we'll talk specifically about the ways that the schedule will change in order to make sure that we give all the information necessary for everyone to be truly prepared for Midwest Model United Nations.
Thank you, Lance, and thanks everyone for watching. Again, be sure to watch part two. It will be available on our YouTube page the week of January 17th. We're trying to time that with when all of our partner schools are back in session and ready to prepare, of course, their #1 priority for Midwest Model UN, right, Lance?
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody.